Ed. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. What happened to audio? Testing 1, 2. Testing. Did someone turn off audio? Testing. Testing. Testing 1, 2. Okay. Someone turned the mics back off. Gremlins. Ed Hansen, you sent me an email. David Crook. Where's David Crook? Please stand by, folks. The meeting starts at 1 o'clock. Right now it's 12:48, so we'll start at 1 o'clock. David Crook. Is David Crook back in yet? Ed Hansen, you said you sent me an email. Did you send it to that email address? How long ago? Okay, I don't have it yet. Yep. That's not what you sent it to, was it? We don't have .com. For those of you watching online, about 10 minutes till the meeting starts, what we're looking at is a computer that's being built. So this is just a little bit of extemporaneous equipment. We were trying to do this 2 weeks ago. Things didn't work out. In fact, 3 things we had scheduled. None of it worked out. So right now, John Lumb is building a computer, and we'll talk a little bit about those specs. We had a little trouble getting the cooler put on there, but we got that finally worked out. That was a 3-man job. And remember, folks, this is live, so whatever you see online, it's happening as it happens.
You must have got an update from Windows. Slice, yeah, it started.
Ed, did you send your message again?
Oh, it's there.
All righty.
Oh, look, there's another little sheet down there. That's the one you want, Jeff Fox. Could be. Maybe, you may have another one. I have 3. Just leave her there. Leave it there. Here.
Okay, everyone, remember when we get started, if you've got a question to ask or a comment, please raise your hand so we can get a mic to you. That way, we'll hear you online. So everybody can participate and everybody can hear what's going on.
What'd you do? You just plugged it in?
Lee, don't start talking until you get your mic.
That would be helpful.
There's so much, Lou. I didn't.
Okay, I'll take a look again.
Say he was going to bring one. So.
Got it. What's a little data among friends?
Wall Street Journal article just gives a little bit of credit to the guy that exposed it, that found it. His name is Chris, somebody or another.
Did you
He's the grandson of a good friend of mine.
did you have a link to the article online?
The link to the article on ZDNet should be in the letter, in the email itself. Not on that PDF. There it is.
MSN and ZDNet.
Yeah, try that.
Yeah, that was announced on One American News last night.
Yeah, that's Chris Vicker. That's my friend's grandson. He told him he didn't want to go to college.
What kind of progress y'all making, Joe? Y'all gonna be able to talk about it? Okay, good.
And I want to turn off the volume. Here, Aaron.
Let me tell you something, it'd be 50 or 60. 50 is last year, 60 is here. Let me tell you something about ripping a movie. When you rip the movie, you don't mess with much or anything else in this machine. Okay? It's a very sensitive process. Yeah. Suggesting, because you want a good movie at the end of the process. Because otherwise you find that you have ripples, hiccups in your output. Tell the difference.
But, I mean, I can tell the
Your
difference.
eyeballs couldn't see a difference.
Well, I couldn't see a difference in the picture, but what you could see is that side by side. See, one is a matte that's fully matte, so there's no reflection. Oh, that's different. That's different. Right. And the 4K is the shiny screen. Man, you know, to me, I'm really gonna watch 4K on a laptop. But they use so
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Builder Buy. It's about that time, about 1 o'clock. We need to go ahead and get started. We've got some homework to talk about today. For those of you that are online, give us a few minutes while we go through this. We're in some transition with some of the opportunities of remodeling here at Fairhaven since they've combined congregations. That's probably going to start next week. I'm waiting to hear back from Bob, but I'm glad everybody that's here today is here because next week is somewhat up in the air. Since they're going to be remodeling this building, it's probably going to take a couple of months. In fact, here comes Bob right now. We may or may not meet next week. I don't know yet. The other congregation has offered us the opportunity to meet at their facilities. My concern is, number one, Bob said it would take a map to get in there. Number two, my concern is easy access for our folks. Where do we stand, Bob? About next week. So it'd be a good idea for us not to be here. Okay, so there will be no builder buy meeting next week. What we've got to decide now is it's going to take them a couple of months to do their work. So what we need to decide is, do we want to try to meet at the other congregation, which will give me time to go take a look at it. And I mentioned my concern, one, have to take a map to get over there, and two, access, because here we've got easy access. Would it be okay with you guys? Would it be better for us not to meet for a couple of months? And they think they'll be through by the end of August. So August the 20th. So that puts us, let me look at a calendar right quick. June, July, August the 20th. So we could come back on, say, the 23rd. We could be here the last 2 weeks in August. Robert, can we get a mic on Robert, please, so we can hear him? Thanks, Robert.
One vote for I'll try meeting somewhere else rather than not meet for 2 months.
Okay. I'll have to go take a look at it. It'll be as soon as I can make contact with them. I spoke with one of the gentlemen today, and I'll probably have email within the next day or two. I'll try to go if they can see us like Thursday or Friday, and I'll get Lou to send out a broadcast message and let you guys know what it's going to take. The problem we had today was because we were in their way, it normally takes us 40 minutes to set up. It took us a little over an hour to set up. If going to the other facility requires us 2 hours to set up, that makes it easy for you, but it doesn't make it easy for me. Doesn't make it easy for Ben. So that's something we're going to have to sort out. So how many else want to go try to meet at the other congregation? 2 people? Anybody else? Thanks, Bob. So everybody else wants to try to meet the other congregation. Okay. We'll go take a look at it, and it's an honor and a privilege that they've said they've got folks over there with open arms to help us. So we'll see what we can do to get that worked out. Now, I've got a fence to build next month, so I'll be able to get everything set up next month, But it's going to be up to you guys to run the meeting, because my mind is going to be filled with building a fence. So right now, we don't know about next week. We should know something by the end of the meeting. That's up in the air. But for the next 2 months, that too is up in the air. If I can get some information to have for y'all next week, just be prepared when you see a broadcast message from Lou, what's going on. We sent out one broadcast message 2 weeks ago saying that we would not be here last week. Somebody didn't get that message. Sorry about that. So Lou, do you have Greg's email address now? Is it on the list? Everybody, please be sure that's here. Get your name on the list so we can keep you informed of what's going on. And for those of you online, just watch for the stream. We'll put up a video, something to let you know what's happening, something short and quick, kind of like what we did about the power supply. But as these things are going, these things are happening really, really fast. So we'll see what we can do about it, meeting at the other location. And I'll let you know about what's involved with the map. Okay. So much for the housekeeping. I've got an email from Ed Hansen, and I've got an email from David Crook about a couple of security issues. Who wants to go first? Where's David? I guess it'll be Ed. Can we get a mic on Ed? Well, you sent it to me. You're going to have to. That's just the way it works. Because you know more about it than I do.
Okay, a grandson of mine, or a friend of a
Closer.
grandson of a friend of mine, is a security analyst for a company, and he recently uncovered a data file that had been up for 12 days of 198 voters, Republican voters, that anybody could access using the proper passwords. And he was able to unlock it and notified the authorities. There's the article on the Wall Street Journal. He was also written up in ZDNet and Microsoft Network. His name is Christopher Vickery, and he elected not to go to college, but it looks like he's making quite a name for himself without a college degree.
And his name is Chris Vickery?
Yes.
Chris Vickery, the Internet's data breach hunter. Can I come over there and see if some of that knowledge will rub off? I appreciate you sharing that with us. So, something to be aware of. Thank you. Is David Crook back yet? David Crook's not back yet. Well, yes, sir.
In my continuing quest for a laptop,
Absolutely.
I've been looking at the 9560, the Dell XPS 9560, which is the 2017 model.
Stand still.
Okay. And yesterday I was over at Micro Center, and they had both the full HD model and the 4K model. So I was able to look to the screen together, and it helped me make the decision of which I wanted. Of course, the full HD has the shiny screen, and when you see that in comparison to the matte finished full HD, it was very apparent to me that I wanted the full HD without the reflection. Because otherwise I really couldn't tell a great deal of difference between the two on that small a screen. And the other realization I reached, they both use the same video card. You can optionally, when you're building one,
have either the full HD screen or the 4K touchscreen. So the answer is the only time I conceive that I would want to use the 4K would be in driving external monitors. And since they're whichever screen you get, you've got the same video card, you're able to drive 2 4K monitors. So, to me,
Have you pulled the trigger yet?
not yet. I have one question, and you may not know the answer, but maybe you can think about it if you don't. And that question is, Dell's Thunderbolt is not the full 40 megabit Thunderbolt. It's only half that. It's only using 2 of the PCI lanes.
Interesting.
So my question is, in the real world, does that really matter? What would the effect be? I'm not sure.
Anybody want to take that?
Got a different question for him.
Let's go for the question he had, though, the difference in the Thunderbolt speeds. Where are you going to need the speed on the Thunderbolt? You want to answer that, Joe? Y'all are busy working.
But my guess is, I mean, where are you going to? What type of device am I going to be able to transfer it at 40 megabits per second or whatever it is?
Data.
I mean, is there any SSDs or anything out there that's going to transfer at speeds like that today? Anyway.
There are some devices, but I don't think it's going to be something you're going to be buying.
Yeah, and probably be fairly expensive, I would gather.
Yeah.
I would guess if you have 2 machines, you could see the difference in the operation. But if you only have 1 machine, all you'll see is that it's fast.
That would be my guess too. Yeah.
So I got a question for you. You're talking
Yeah.
about driving 2 monitors at 4K. What rep rate? I was just looking at some yesterday and before, and there I see 24 and 30, but I don't see any 60. And Gil always asks about 4K at 60. I didn't see any motherboards that would do that. What was you talking about?
My recollection is it's 60, but you
Okay.
need to check that out because it's just my remembrance of that.
So how close are you to pull the trigger on that laptop?
Well, I'm still vacillating because the real problem is, much as I'd like it, I keep saying to myself, what additional functionality am I going to get out of this new laptop? I have a perfectly good 7-year-old Dell that is a full HD, it's a beautiful screen, it's running fine. So what am I going to get myself? And I at this point, I can't answer that question. So I'm still in what I call the vacillation mode.
Is your laptop USB 3?
Yes. Yes, it is. So there's, I say to myself, what am I buying myself?
Sounds like all you're going to buy yourself is bragging rights.
Yes. Well, that's kind of why I'm still vacillating. Yeah. Yes.
So you haven't done anything, so you're still thinking.
Still thinking. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, did David Crook ever come back? He did not. I may forget what he was going to talk to us about later on. Now, you said you went to Micro Center, Dwayne, and that's where they had that. How much was that? $1,300? Can we get the mic back, please? Thanks, Robert.
Well, they don't have to be 4K.
The model that I kind of zeroed in on would be the i7 with 16 meg, adding in Windows Pro and the fingerprint reader, and you're talking about $1,700.
$1,700, okay. Because the one I pulled up here was $1,300. I was trying to find something close to what you had. Okay. Okay. Appreciate it. Well, how far are we on John Lumb's computer? Y'all ready to talk about it yet? It's kind of the question to build or not to build. And we didn't get things done 2 weeks ago. It's now in the process, but when we started the day this morning, little difficulty getting set up. It doesn't look like we were going to get the machine built because we weren't sure we had a cooler that would fit. Once we figured out the mount for the cooler, they're getting it together, but they're not ready to talk about it yet. And we were showing some of that before the meeting started, so I'll come back to you guys in a little bit. Clifford sent me some information also on some weather links, some of you have been asking about. So I'm going to go over here to the computer right now for a minute and show you some of those talking points on the weather links. It's further down in the list. There's about 50 points down here. And right now I've just got it up under 59 for today. Some weather sites that Clifford was talking about. Clifford, you want to talk about those weather links, those sites you sent us some links to? Can we get a mic over there for Clifford, please? Robert? Thanks, Dwayne.
Yeah, I sit over here and goof around on a computer, and sometimes people, look over my shoulder what I'm doing, and whether there's interesting weather happening. And astonishingly, there's interesting weather happening today. I go to some of my weather sites, and people were asking about those sites. The first site, do you have a computer on the?
Yeah, we got it up.
Okay. The
Interactive Texas radar map?
Yeah, Interactive Texas Radar Map. That's part of CORAD, or Corsicana Radar. So you just go ahead and click on that.
Okay.
And that's what it looks like. And if you hover over different parts of the map, you can see little red boxes appear.
Yes.
And you can go to close-ups of those. Actually, the raw radar that's highlighted within those boxes. And that's was Cindy. That's Cindy coming in. She'll be here later on tonight.
She looks upset.
She's a little upset, yeah. But she's been spending a lot of time dumping a lot of rain on the south between here and Florida.
I want to steer clear, Cindy.
And in fact, the Florida Panda handle has been hammered by rain from the outer bands of Cindy. But if you look at if you watch it for a while, you can see there's a bit of rotation there.
Yes.
At the center of that rotation is where the low is right now.
Interesting.
So radar is actually a really useful thing, but it has to be within the range of the radar in question. If you look at the whole state or the whole country, that's a whole bunch of different radars all over the country working together to make one mosaic image of the radar.
So what's the latest forecast? They think it's going to hit landfall tonight?
It's going to landfall tonight in the Sabine area, Sabine Pass area, and continue to dump a lot of rain from that point east. It'll put some rain on us, but not enough to solve problems that I'm going to get to in a moment here.
Do they expect some flooding in our area?
If we're going to get flooding, it'll be some street flooding, but I wouldn't expect very much because it's not going to dump anywhere near as much rain on us as it has been dumping.
I pray people will avoid the flooded roads.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible Katie may not get a drop.
Interesting. We had some rain 2 nights ago. I think it was Monday night, Tuesday morning, and from 1:45 a.m. till 2:15 p.m. it was buckets.
Yeah.
And then it was gone as quick as it came.
Yeah, I think I watched that on the radar. It was an isolated cell that just moved through really fast.
Yep. I got more rain in 30 minutes than I could have done if watering the yard in 3 days straight.
That's what tropical storms do.
Yep.
More so even than hurricanes.
Okay,
anyway,
let's go to the next link.
Okay, the next link was just corad.org, which is on that same line there. That's just the main page for Corsicana Radar,
Okay.
which has all of the stuff that the thing does. So if you're interested in weather, you can look at the rest of that page and
Okay.
get detailed information.
And now the next one.
Now the next one is the Looping National Mosaic. That's put out by the National Weather Service, and
All
it's
right.
basically the entire country. It's the big picture of what's going on, and you can also see on it. You have to go ahead and click on it.
It's loading.
Okay.
I'll
Yeah,
click,
it's big, so it'll take it a while to load.
I'll click on it when we get it up.
And like I say, it is the entire country. And you can also see the rotation patterns on it, so you'll know where lows are. And in the wintertime especially, you can see the way that large-scale winter storm systems work. You've got what looks like a ginormous comma that pretty much covers the entire country. And the round part of that comma is the low, which is the rotating part. And it sort of drags behind it the front, which is the cold front that brings colder weather up down from the north.
Well, we've got the link to it, but it's not coming up, so let's move on to the next one.
Okay. You can look at that on your own at home.
The Texas
The next
Drought
one is,
Monitor?
Yeah, the next one is just an interesting site. It shows you what the drought situation is in Texas. It's calculated every Tuesday, and it's published every Thursday. So this is not yesterday, but last Tuesday's map. And what is unfortunate about Cindy is that it's going to go pretty much north and dump a lot of rain to the east. And if you look at the map here, you can see that that's not really good for the Panhandle and East Texas, because they could use some rain right now.
Badly.
Not badly. Badly would be orange and red and dark red.
Gotcha.
So there's the table on the right shows you what levels of drought there is. D0 to D4 is not actually classified as drought. It's just classified as abnormally dry.
Okay.
They could use some rain, but they're not hurting really bad.
Okay.
When anytime you go orange or up higher, then you're talking about some serious drought.
Good to
And
know.
if you want to see what the whole country looks like, it's the U.S. Drought Monitor on that same line, and they'll show the whole country, and which
All right.
parts of the country need rain and which parts could do without. You see, there's some serious droughts here and there,
Interesting.
especially up north. But the big drought that was in California has finally gone away. About a year ago this time, or a couple of years ago this time, almost the entire state of California was solid red, dark red.
Goodness. Good to know. Thanks for sharing that with us. What we ought to do later is put up a page just for weather stuff, and I'll put all that on it. But for now, it's on that page, so it'll be there for talking points. If somebody wants to go find it. Thanks for sharing that with us, Clifford. I appreciate it. Okay. At the bottom of the talking points, I've got a link up. How are you guys doing on the computer, Joe? Y'all ready to talk about it yet? Okay. I'll keep checking back. I need to double check on the chipset y'all were using, but in fact, let me come over and get the motherboard box. If I can find it. Nope, I don't see it. I was going to tell you what motherboard you're using. For those that are interested, we'll come back to it. I've got a link up from Belkin about Thunderbolt. I didn't really plan on getting into Thunderbolt technology, but you can read Belkin's perspective view on that. As far as Thunderbolt, you know, it's the port that's supposed to do everything eventually. It's supposed to even replace HDMI. So as far as the speed of the port, I would like the bandwidth of the port. Look at it this way. Remember back when USB 3 came online? It was about a year before we had a USB 3.0 anything that we could use. Thunderbolt's been around for a little while. Most of the Thunderbolt devices that we would normally use to get the speed are kind of expensive. One device I'm thinking of, Blackmagic makes for doing this streaming stuff. Instead of using H.264 to encode, we could use the Blackmagic device to do H.265 to encode, which is a better encoder, the newer encoder, better compression. But it's expensive. So even though that's the path, and I'm aware of a device, it's not something I'm going to go run out and buy. It's a very expensive product. And as far as H.265 devices, there are 2 other vendors that have announced products that's going to support it. So to use a codec that requires the throughput from the connector, it's kind of like the USB 3. I want it, but I'm not going to be able to use it for a while. So it's a kind of a catch-22. If I don't need it, don't sweat it. Now, if I'm going to keep a laptop as long as Joe has, I think 8 years Joe's had this laptop, he got his money's worth. I don't get maybe 3 years out of a desktop. So it's something to think about. So I want the speed, but if I'm going to have to pay a premium for it, you know, it kind of makes me pause. I'm going to go over here to the dry marker board, for example. Some of the things I look for in a laptop. And if you list, say, those top 5 things, if any one of those things changes, it changes everything. I had the email address up here for the information everybody was sending, because if you send it to my regular email address, I'll see it, but not till tonight. I have that one email address configured up here. And as a reminder, we do not have builderby.com. Somebody wants to sell it to us, but I'm not buying it. They're sitting on top of it. It's builderby.org and builderby.net. If we'd have known back when we got those domain names that someone was going to do that, we'd have registered it. But we didn't know someone would do that. Sneaky, sneaky. So if I'm interested in a laptop, what do I want? What's number one? Screen size? Or what's number two? Battery? Now, which one's more important to you? Yes, ma'am. Mel? Can we put a mic on Mel so we can hear her, please? Thanks.
Number 3, a comfortable keyboard
Keyboard.
that's comfortable to you.
I need another pen. I need one that writes. Give me a second. We got all these dud pens. Throw that one away. Okay, a keyboard. I'll just say keyboard. Boy, that helps. Okay, the keyboard, a comfortable keyboard. You could say a comfortable keyboard, a keyboard with a keypad, but a keyboard is a big deal. I like a certain touch to it. What I don't like about laptop keyboards is the keys are laid out differently. So on a desktop, there are keyboard shortcuts I use. Well, when I get ready to use those same keyboard shortcuts, I have to verbally say those keys and look for them because they're in a different place. So I'll just plug in an external keyboard, and of course I plug in a mouse. But these are three things. You change one of these, it changes everything. So screen, battery, keyboard. What else?
Ports.
Amen to that. Ports. What kind of ports do you have? Do I have USB 3? I've got to have USB 3. That's without question. But I'd like Thunderbolt. If I get Thunderbolt, I want the full speed, but what's it going to cost me?
Thunderbolt 3 for multiple monitors.
Thunderbolt 3. Now, it could be multiple monitors, could be an I/O device, but Thunderbolt 3, it's going to require something that you can move a lot of data back and forth.
Right, but remember, based on everything I see, even saying if you say Thunderbolt 3 for multiple monitors, Mel's computer has it, but it's only going to go at 20, half speed.
20 megabit.
Now, I don't understand. Yeah, so no matter what they say, they finally made Dell put an asterisk where you have all these great comparison charts saying has Thunderbolt 3. Dell, when it shows Dell now, it's one port, but it has an asterisk by it showing, so you look and you see it's not at full speed because people were complaining about that.
And that's a good point. Some people, for example, yes, ma'am.
Is the half speed faster than the 3 USB?
Oh yeah, now 3 USB is what now? Is it 5 or 10? I forgot.
I'll have to bring that up. We've talked
But
about that in the past.
this
I don't have it
is
up here.
the half speed is 20, so it's it's faster. Yeah. Oh yeah. And it still will support 2 monitors. The Dell Thunderbolt 3 will support 2 4HD external monitors.
Another way to look at it. How many of you use 2 monitors? Quite a few. How many of you use 3 monitors? Anybody here use 4? And I like to talk about video walls, and that's at least 4 to 6 monitors. So, and another thing about the screen size, it's not only screen size, but screen resolution, if that's important to you.
Quietness is another thing.
I agree.
Because some of the fans on some laptops will just drive you out of the room.
How do they do the cooling?
Another item is matte finish versus reflective, on the screen, which is a big, big difference, as I discovered yesterday.
Or is it an IPS panel?
How about upgradable
I agree.
both hard drive and memory, RAM?
That really is. I was reading about a new Samsung portable the other day. Really looked great, but everything was soldered into the motherboard. So there's
Wow, is that the one you sent me the information that would it be Samsung at Best Buy?
probably was, because when I looked into the details, I realized
Ah.
you couldn't upgrade anything. That's what's so nice about the Dell. You can upgrade the SD, the hard drives, the memory, everything. So probably the Dell is one of the most upgradable ones around.
What else would be important?
Am-
Backlit?
Amen.
What else? It's good to have a list. Keep these things in mind because you find something on your list.
Wait.
Wait. Amen
Boy,
to that.
I was sampling all the laptops over at Micro Center, and man, there were some really nice ones that weighed a whole lot, really heavy.
Well, you think about it. You know, I like a large screen, but you get a large screen, you're going to add to the weight. I like a long battery life, but depending on how the battery is, that could add to the weight as well, unless the battery's built in. So I agree, weight's a big deal.
Well, one thing too is it tied with the battery life. Some machines, like the Dell, you can get a larger battery. In other words, there are two battery sizes.
Built in or removable?
It's it's a removable battery, user replaceable.
Good to know.
Yeah, often it's a trade-off with physical disk size. With the M series disks, you're able to use up a lot more space for battery. That's what Dell did. They got 97 watt hours now on their big battery, but only if you get the M disk.
Have you ever noticed some of the laptops don't tell you?
I'm sorry.
Some of the laptops don't tell you how big the battery is. They don't tell you how much battery life's there. Something else I like to know, I'll put down here number 11, is the operating system. I prefer the Pro version. I can upgrade it, but I prefer the Pro version. I'd rather just be there.
Now, on that question, the only place that I've seen where it's really easily upgradable is Dell. When you buy a custom system from Dell,
Yeah.
for $50 you can upgrade to the Pro. That's the
Number 12, the video. Is it 2? Is it 4? Or is it 8 gigs of RAM? And is it dedicated? Is it dedicated or is it shared? It all goes back to what you're going to use the laptop for. And as I said, the computers I had looked at, the laptops I had looked at, most of the Windows Home machines had 2 gigs if it was dedicated, whereas the Pro machines of the same configuration used 4 gigs. And yes, there are some machines that use video of 8 gig dedicated. And if it's dedicated, what's the chipset? Video chipset. I have my preference based on what the spec that Netflix put out. If I'm going to buy a new laptop, I want it to be NVIDIA. It's got to be 4 gigs. But again, it depends on what you're doing. There's 13 items. You change any one of those, it changes everything. Does that kind of help give you something to think about when you're looking for a laptop? Anybody?
There is another item that affects some laptops, and that's the heat. If you're going to use it, as I do all the time, on your lap, you don't want something that gets too hot. And
That's right.
some of the really small ones get a little too hot.
Heat. And those are things that you have to actually, the weight is something you can measure, but the heat is something you have to experience. And something quiet, unless they tell you it's quiet, you really have to experience it.
Most of those things, though, if you spend the time researching, you will be able to find one or two extensive reviews that will go into, they'll measure the temperature on a number of spots on the computer. They also will measure the fan noise and give you a pretty good description, so you'll have a better idea. But of course, these are going to be on the more popular big selling computers. As you go down the line to the lesser knowns, you don't often get quite as comprehensive a review.
Something else I want to know, what's the CPU? We know that there are some new Ryzen laptops coming out, and I believe it was, wasn't it you, Dwayne, that sent the information about the Asus Republic of Gamers laptop? I'm eager to know some more about it. All we know is there's a brand and a model, Asus Republic of Gamers, but until it's out, for example, I got really excited about the Gigabyte Aorus laptops. Got to looking at the specs, but then got to reading what some of the user experiences were. And you know, sometimes you got to read between the lines, but I said no, wasn't interested in those. That turned me off real quick. So these are all things to consider. If I'm buying a laptop right now, it's going to have Intel, and it's going to be an i7. And yes, the new ones are coming out. I haven't seen any laptops announced for the new Intel X platform, but I'm sure it'll follow. So there's 15 different items about a laptop you can think about. Change one changes everything. And you have to consider and prioritize. And all this balanced against, you know, bang for the buck. What's it going to cost me? But real important to me, anything that fluctuates, things that I will not fluctuate on, I've got to be able to upgrade the RAM, and I've got to be able to upgrade the hard drive, SSD/M2, whatever's in there. Yes, sir.
I've got a question. Maybe this is just me, but
Yes,
how many
Jack.
people here have lived with a device with a fingerprint scanner on it?
2?
I frankly don't want to give it up, having had one. So I want a fingerprint scanner on my laptop also.
It's number 16.
Well, I tried to use the fingerprint on my phone, and I had trouble making it work, so I'm not too fond of fingerprint.
Did you have trouble training it, or?
Yeah.
Oh. I had to train mine 2 or 3 times before I got it right, but once it was in, it's solid
Oh, okay.
on my iPad.
Something to think about. Something to think about. Give you some ideas for a laptop. I mean, we talk about building computers all the time, but I think it's essential we start spending more time on laptops because they're available, they're affordable, and boy, things are changing so quickly. It's just, it's pretty exciting. I'm still excited and ecstatic about the machines that Lou Warren got, Andrew bought. Where's Andrew? Oh, there you are. Glad you made it, Andrew. And also that Nick Streeter bought. Nick's not here with us today. Someone's got to let Nick know, keep him informed. Is he still working on his remodel? Is Nick Streeter, is he still working on his remodel? Oh. Something different. Okay. Well, something to think about. I remember when, are y'all getting power to it right now, Joe? No video. You got your mic on? That helps.
Yes, I do.
Okay. What was that you told everybody a while ago when they made a comment? Be sure and talk into the mic. Oh,
I
yeah.
am.
And make sure the mic was on. I'm just giving you a hard time. I know it'll be my turn next. I'm eager to come back to that machine. Where's the box for your motherboard? Because I want to take a look at it right quick. Do you have it handy, John?
Motherboard box.
Your motherboard box, where is it? Can I take a look at it?
Oh, no, it's on the chair.
It's in the chair? Thanks. I'd like to see it. Okay, so this is a Gigabyte motherboard, and it uses the, which chipset? 270 chipset? I thought it was a B350 chipset. The It says Intel H270. Oh, that's right. You built Intel. Okay, I'm thinking AMD. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, so this is the Intel H270 chipset, socket 1151. And the 1151 is what we had difficulty with the CPU cooler, but it took 3 people to do it, but y'all got that mounted. So this is a GA H270M. I'm going to go here to the computer and look it up right quick. Gigabyte. Gigabyte H270. Did I say DM or OM? Oh, 270M. 270M dash DS3H.
Power cycling.
Let's go to
Power
NewEgg.
cycling.
We'll have better luck there. We'll have a picture we can look at. Yeah. So inexpensive motherboard.
They're cycling.
Zoom in on this if we can.
What I'm saying is it doesn't have steady power.
Two PCI Express per 16 slots. Plenty of USB ports. That thing even has an LPT port on it. That's crazy. Got all your cables. PCI Express.
What's this?
So for SATA Express, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4.
We haven't, you haven't plugged it.
USB 3, couple of
Turn it on.
connectors.
I think we just solved the problem.
What was the problem with the video?
Oh, this says CPU.
So you're saying the CPU does not have video on board?
No, what we're saying is the CPU cable wasn't plugged in down here.
Details.
Okay,
4 slots for memory,
okay. Get
24 pin power, 8 pin power.
Yeah,
I'm going to look at the other pictures.
here we go.
Back side of the motherboard. That's what I wanted to see the business end. So we've got the PS2 for keyboard or mouse, a couple of USB 2 ports. We've got VGA, DVI. Interesting. We have VGA, DVI, then we have DisplayPort, and then we have HDMI. Then 2 USB 3 ports, 2 USB 3 ports, network, and then our audio connections. I like that. And this is this micro ATX form factor?
Yeah,
We'll zoom out for just a minute. We'll go back to the board, go look at the specs. I always like to look at the back end of the connectors. Okay, socket LGA 1151. And what CPU did you put on there? Did you put an i5 on it?
what CPU do you have? Yeah, i5?
Did you put an
i5?
i5 or an i7?
Yeah.
Where's the box for the CPU, and I'll take a look. They're busy. I won't interrupt again. Okay, this has integrated graphics because of the CPU. Maximum resolution they can get on the display port 4K.
So we gotta pull-
4K
we
at
gotta
60
pull this
hertz.
cable out.
Supports DisplayPort
See here?
version 1.2. The HDMI will do
No, 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 no.
4K at 24 hertz. It doesn't even do 30
Turned off?
or 29.97. That supports HDMI 1.4. Funny thing about that. Now, if you put a converter on that display port, you can get HDMI 2.0 out of that. But if you want 4K at 60 hertz, it's going to have to come out of the display port and then put a converter on it. Maximum shared memory 1 gig. Board will support 64 gigs. If he decides to put a video card in there later, doesn't have to, but if he does, that first slot runs at 16x.
Hold it through.
And the second slot will run at, wow, 4x. Good to know. But for the size of the machine, for like a home entertainment machine or for something he wants to be able to bring up here and work on, that's my kind of laptop.
I'll work on it, I'll get it.
It'll take an M.2, and it also supports a PCI Express by 4 which will be an NVMe drive. Realtek for the LAN chip, gigabit. Yep, 4 USB 3.1 ports.
Okay, that's good, that's good.
Oh, interesting. That says USB 3.1. Well, that's USB 3 out the back. 2 USB 3.1 Generation 1 headers. I'll have to go back and look at that. So I need to bring up the manual now. Now you got me curious. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to email that information to myself so I can look at that later, because we may refer to that in the coming weeks. So that's the board that John Lumb has built this machine on. The Gigabyte GA H270M DS3H, because he's using an Intel CPU. That's a little rascal. It's funny to talk about something like this on a board like this, putting in 2 video cards. Well, one runs at full speed, the other one runs at 4x. That's kind of silly. And it shows it'll not only support an M.2, but it'll support the Optane, which, because it's an Intel chipset, which is the Intel memory spec. And the M.2 will get to up to the 32 gigabit per second. Nice.
Some space here.
Now, personally, I like a little more full-featured board, but bigger board requires a bigger case. And, you know, one thing calls for something else. So that's the machine that they're working on. So I'm going to go back over to the talking points of build or buy. Okay, there are some promotions at NewEgg right now. I've got 3 of them up. One is for the Ryzen CPUs. One is for the new Intel X CPUs. And the third one is for the new, let me think what it is. The new Asus X299 motherboards for the Intel CPU. And they're within the talking points. I put them out as they came up to share that information with you. A couple of reviews on Red Shark, one about the Canon, that new camera I told you about 3 weeks ago, and also on Red Shark, pixels. More pixels or better pixels, which is an interesting discussion, and that's a good place to read up on it. HoloLens, I've got some stuff here from Extreme Technology. And Cinema 5D has that new Panasonic camera I mentioned to you 3 weeks ago. And I got a couple of items here from Milt, from Kim Commando, what happens to all your media accounts when you pass away. And also 5 tips every Windows 10 user needs to know. Now, speaking of Windows 10, Clifford had a question about Windows 10. And I thought we'd go through that and talk about that a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the email, and I'm going to bring up that message that I had from Clifford about that. And since I had to send it to myself over here, it won't have Clifford's name on it. And if I can't find it in 3 seconds, and I can't, I'll go back over to Build or Buy, and we'll look here under Clifford. And what Clifford has to ask was about the Windows 10 Creators Update Privacy Settings. Has anybody had to deal with that? The Windows 10 Creators Update Privacy Settings. You had to deal with that? Can we get a mic? It's not actually on the talking points. I've got it up there on the site for my notes, and those are the same information that goes on the talking points when we look at this page later.
It put the Creators Edition on this laptop the other night without me knowing it, of course.
Just did it on its own.
Popped up those privacy questions,
Right.
and I answered them the best I could,
Right.
which is not very good. But anyway, yeah, I had, it was traumatic to deal with. The implication of some of them was that did I want advertising, and I had to give Microsoft permission to do this, as well as whoever else I selected.
Did you have to go to the ER?
But no.
You said it was traumatic.
Well, for example, Adobe Creative Cloud, I wanted to make sure that could get on, because it takes forever to get connected and so on and so forth. And I was nervous. I tried it, and I can get back on there without a problem. But the implication of the question was I had to give Microsoft permission to read stuff that I also gave Adobe permission the way I read it.
Good to know. I'm going to show the desktop on this computer, and I'm going to get to it because there's a couple of ways to do this.
you can't go beyond this point without.
Can we get a
having
mic
it
over there on
either
Clifford so we
thumb
can hear him,
drive
please?
Or on a hard drive.
Creator privacy.
I've got a.
Yeah, maybe you can find that under subject on
Okay, go
your
get it.
list there. Is creator privacy was the subject.
Cord.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
This
Yeah,
bumped
get
the
it.
fonts down really, really tiny,
Well, there's one.
and I didn't have time to check that today because we were a little over an hour behind.
But basically, what it is, and me and a couple other people have indicated them as well that I've been getting notices that they're about to, dump Creator on me, and they want me to review my privacy settings.
And I thought we'd walk through that.
Yeah, that would be good, and especially if you can do it slowly,
Well, I'm trying to find your email.
because
I can hardly read this.
I don't even know. I wasn't even sure what they were even
Put
talking
this
about.
drive in upside down, basically.
Well, let's just bump this back down and take a look at it. Easy way to find
This time,
anything.
Put it in right side up,
I'm just going to go to one of them for personalize.
because
Go back over here to
we don't
home.
have access
Now
to any
then,
of these.
what we're looking for,
No, take this out.
right there where it says privacy. See it?
It's in upside down.
You know how I got to it?
Settings.
Can we do it again?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm just going to right click on anything on the desktop. Display settings or personalize. I chose personalize. Then I'm going to go up here to this little home key. I clicked home. So now I'm at the Windows settings.
That's okay. Just take this.
I scroll to the bottom,
No,
and there's privacy. Can we do it again?
Yeah, I see it now. It's in the middle of those three. Okay.
Privacy.
I'm having a hard time
I
reading
clicked
that.
on privacy.
Okay.
Okay, now that I'm on privacy, let me see if I can zoom in on this a little bit to make it easier for you to see it.
That's better. That's better.
All right, I'm under general. I've got general, location, camera, microphone, notifications, speech, inking and typing, account info, contacts, calendar. So right now I'm on general. That's what's highlighted. Okay, change privacy options. Let apps use advertising ID to make ads more interesting to you based on your app usage. Turning this off will reset your ID. Right now on this machine it's on. This is the only machine that I have Windows 10 Creators Update on.
That reset the ID part was what made me nervous.
That could be an issue with a program like the Adobe you're talking about.
But it didn't. I've tried it and it works, but that did bother me.
So I've got it turned on. Let websites provide locally relevant content by accessing my language list. Yeah, I don't want to see something in, I don't know, German. I want to see it in English.
Mandarin.
Or Mandarin. Yeah, I'm not real good with Mandarin either. I know two languages, Texican and English. And I'm still working on my English.
you don't know Pig Latin?
Well, I'm working on that too. Okay, now the next one. Let Windows track app launches to improve start and search results. Right now I don't have a problem with it. That's turned on. Everything on this machine is the default because I did an install, a quick install, so I could move on.
Yeah.
I also use Kaspersky for my antivirus and firewall.
That is not one of the options on mine, by the way. This is Windows Home.
Okay, this is Windows 10 Pro,
That's different.
so you don't have this.
That's right.
I have no machine that has home on it. Everything that we show and everything that we recommend is always going to be Pro. If we ever have something that is home, then we'll specify that specifically. Now, manage my info
We didn't
that's
have
stored in the
access to
cloud.
this
I have no info stored in the cloud. I had no plan to store anything in the cloud.
Which is where your hard drive.
Y'all know that online site that Microsoft had been using for quite some time that's going offline? Now they're telling you to use some other site? That's one of the
Yeah,
reasons I don't want to do
unplug
that.
everything
Another
you wanna
reason,
do
y'all
that.
remember when Microsoft took over Hotmail? Y'all remember that little fiasco? Yeah. They went from Linux servers to Windows servers, and that just went south. So I don't put any of my stuff in the cloud for Microsoft to play with. Okay, know your privacy options. Learn how this setting impacts your privacy. Have a question? Make Windows better. Give us feedback. Well, for example, don't try to reboot my computer while I'm running a meeting. I've got one computer wanting to do that right now, and I keep saying no.
That's a really good thing to learn how to stop.
I'm going to set up that little thing that Milt showed us, that we still have a link on the index page, that tells how to keep that from happening for that very reason. When you're trying to run a meeting or do something like we're doing, it's extremely annoying when Microsoft says poof. I had one computer one night that did that. It just went poof because it decided to do an update. Mom thought we had a blue screen of death, and I went back and researched it, and I said, no, Microsoft just decided to update it for us. Wasn't that nice of them? Now, I'm going to go to, every time I bump that, I'm on 2 monitors here, so that's why that's going too far, and I'm not used to that with this system, because this is the one I run the graphics on. Location. If location is on, each person using this device can choose their own location settings. Location for this device is off. Sometimes something will pop up with the browser and say, will you let us know your location? And sometimes I'll just say no out of spite. No, I'm kidding. I don't care. It doesn't really bother me. I mean, there's an article we can read right now, and that deals with some of the information that David Crook had sent. That also is another link on Builder-Buy for talking points about routers being hacked. And I think I got that from Jim Foote. Yeah, did you read all that article, Jim? Can we get a mic on Jim for just a second? Where's Mike's at? Oh, it helps if you hold it up. There you go. Thanks, Robert. The reason I mention it, because I'm going to come back to it, because the key to understanding an article, you can either read the article twice or go down and read the comments. And when you get through the blah, 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 one person had it very succinctly to remind you.
Well, this is something that came from a WikiLeaks document, and essentially the CIA in 2012 could turn your router into a listening, watching device. I better not say watching, but it knew everything, knew your passwords, really knew everything.
And that was 5 years ago.
That's right.
Who knows what they've got them doing now?
I was going to say, I suspect their capabilities have not declined.
Yeah. Oh, that's something else that reminds me. Should it work out for us to go to this other congregation? How many of you here like to drink coffee? How many of you like to drink coffee? There's a coffee shop at the other church. So I just thought I'd mention on the side.
Okay, just put that in.
Okay, we may go over there and not come back. It's a possibility. Back to this. I want to get back to that about the routers in a minute, but remember it requires, Jim, it requires physical access, which means you have to intercept the device from where it's been purchased before it is received by the end user.
Here.
Well, true.
We'll come back to it in a minute.
There's some things to think about these things are all made in China, aren't they?
That's right.
Food for thought.
That's right. How do you know the Chinese aren't listening on us?
Exactly.
If they got time to listen to me, they got more time than sense. If they think I'm doing something they're going to want to watch. That'll make me just go change routers for the heck of it. Okay. If the location service is on, Windows apps and services can use your location, but you can still turn off location for specific apps. Right now on this machine, by default, it's off. If an app is using your location, you'll see this icon.
I think I have it turned off there.
Looks like a bullseye. Default
Yes,
location.
on.
Windows apps and services can use this
Nope.
when we can't detect a more exact location on this PC. Sometimes you'll see that on your browser. Somebody will say, Google, can I track your location? And I've been to some websites that approximate my location. They may have me in the state of Texas, but they don't have me in Katy, which is kind of curious. So for what it's worth, location history. If location is on,
Disk.
your location history is stored for a limited time on the device and can be used by apps that use your location. Now keep in mind, when I install Windows on a machine, I install Windows and I use the Windows account, user account, name. I don't use the Microsoft Store account and link all that together. I don't want that all linked together. I keep it all separate for a reason. My business is my business. My backup, that's what I got a thumb drive for. Okay, clear history on this device. I can clear it right now if I choose to. Learn more about location settings. Manage my location info that's stored in the cloud. Okay, I'm not storing anything on the cloud. The advantage of that is if you go to a different device and you log in with all your settings, everything is just there. For some people, that could be really handy. I don't care for that. Every computer I have set up does something completely different. And the only thing that have a commonality is the networking, where I share files and folders. Okay, apps. Choose apps that can use your precise location. All these are off. App Connector, Camera, Cortana, Mail and Calendar. By the way, Cortana, have you ever gone into your, what do you call that? You bring that thing up on the screen. Don't do it because I'm looking. The Task Manager. Have you ever brought up the Task Manager? Cortana's running in the background. Did you know you can kill it? Did you know it'll come right back? My question is there some way to kill it and keep it down? Don't squash it like a roach and let it get up and run again. Is there some way to rip the head off that sucker so that it don't come back? I don't know, but I find it quite curious because it takes up resources.
It's okay.
Now, I'm not
You can
tight
do
on
that.
resources, but
You can do that.
I'm curious about why it's doing that. Mail and Calendar, I'm not using their stuff. Maps, I'm not using their stuff. Messaging, I'm not using their stuff. Microsoft Edge, I'm not using their stuff. News,
Wait.
I get my news my way, not their way. Twitter, I don't do Twitter. And weather, I'm real big on weather, but I'm not using their weather. Now, geofencing.
Okay, go ahead.
Geofencing means using your location to see when you cross in or out of a boundary drawn around a place of interest.
Try something.
I don't do that, so I don't need that. I haven't figured out how to piggyback that extension cord with me. It only runs for about 25 feet.
Plug it in here.
Know your privacy settings. Learn how this setting impacts your privacy so you can read some more blah blah. Again, have the question, get help. I tell you, some of the help is getting worse with Microsoft Windows. It's just crazy. They want you to they want to bing you to death.
Gil,
Yes, sir.
on your Cortana question,
Yes, sir.
I know you can I think you can turn it off in Windows 10, but you sure can at home. But in Pro, you can do it by going into the policy editor and you just look up disable Cortana.
With the policy editor.
Yeah.
That'll work in Pro, but not with Home.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point, thanks. I haven't been there. I've been doing video editing. That's where my head's at. Ask me about video filters, I can tell you real quick. Ask me about doing multi-camera shoots. Ask me about how to increase resolution in a video. I can do all that. That's what I've been doing.
I don't think Home has a policy editor, do they?
No, it doesn't. No. So that would work to turn it off with a policy editor in Pro, but that won't work in Home.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, Joe.
Does anybody here have a wired mouse we could borrow?
A wired mouse. Well,
Or wireless with a dongle will do.
I'm glad everybody comes prepared.
You said yes. So, Mel?
As the saying goes, when in doubt,
No? Okay, thanks. What's this?
mouse.
Oh, good.
You said
Never mind.
Never mind.
$10 or whatever it was.
Even though I was not a Boy Scout, I try to go prepared.
While we're at it, though,
Yes, sir. What else you need? Stick
for
of
this
gum?
thing here, no, nothing. I had on my machine at
Yes.
home, I have 4 of them at home, 5 of them at home,
Mouse?
I never thought of that.
computers.
Hooking it into the side.
Oh, you have
And
5.
all of them were talking to each other perfectly
Yes, until they upgraded.
until they upgraded, and now I keep getting, go to get your, update your internet credentials.
Oh, that's annoying.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, back to the privacy settings. Let's see now, John, you needed a mouse because you didn't bring one, or yours
No,
didn't work?
because this wouldn't work on this. And this
Interesting.
one's not working either.
Not working.
Hang on.
Try plugging into the rear port. That front port may not be plugged in correctly.
Report.
There may be an issue with that front port.
Right there.
Yeah, any one of those ports. USB 2, USB 3, I usually put it up the top next to the PS2. That'll work. Would you have, a wireless mouse?
No, we had a wired mouse, but shit, now that's not working.
Hang on.
Is it working?
No, we got another problem now.
Oh, okay. Back over here to this. Clifford, does this help? Are we going through this slowly enough, or do we need to go through it faster?
Wait a minute, let's do this.
That's kind of what it is, but I thought if you could see a default machine, I'm not having a problem with it. It was a big deal to me in the beginning. If it becomes a big deal to me, then I'll stop and I'll turn something off. I don't like somebody. Can we get a mic on Clifford, please? Where's the mic at? Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Lou.
I don't know why they're asking for this as a prerequisite for them to come in and give me Cortana that I wasn't asking for. I mean, Creator that I wasn't asking for.
I'm curious. I agree. I don't remember going through that because on this machine, this was a clean install of this version of Windows. It never had, well, I take that back. It did have the previous when I was dealing with issues that turned out to be a power
This
supply.
is the same machine that we installed Windows 10 here in Build or Buy. It's my desktop.
If you're telling me that for reference, I don't remember because it's been too long.
Right.
So does this help what we're going through?
I remember because it was my computer.
Okay. Camera, I don't have a camera on this one. Let apps use my camera hardware. It says it's on. I don't have a camera plugged in. Now, of course, that would reference a USB camera, and there's a way to put a regular camera on here to make it look like a USB camera. Blackmagic has a device that'll do that. But just for what it's worth, that's on. It doesn't matter. I don't have a camera turned on. And I don't have to worry about the CIA hacking it because the device to make that connect is not there. So if they want to see me in my shorts, take a picture. It'll last longer.
No.
Burn that one in your mind. Choose apps that can use your camera. App Connector. There's other things in Windows that are more interesting, odd than this. This is pretty straightforward. App Connector, Connect, Feedback Hub, Maps, Microsoft Edge again, OneNote, Photos, Skype, Store, Sway, Twitter. It's all on, but it won't matter. I don't have a camera plugged in. Somebody have a comment?
Yeah, are you about through with the privacy settings?
I hope.
Okay.
This is kind of like IRQs. It's a really dry, boring topic, but it's not important until you got an issue with it, and then it becomes important. And Clifford asked me to go through that real slowly, so that's why I'm trying to just talk it out. Does that help? Okay. So can we move on? It shouldn't be an issue. Like I said, I've installed, this was the default, so that I could go ahead and get it upgraded and get moving. If anything becomes an issue for me later, I go back, I dig it out, turn it off. It's not like the O&O program we were using to, Never 10. Went through that. And then there was another program we had for privacy settings. You could hit it, that would block all that stuff. And I don't even remember the name. You remember the name of that program, Jack? I don't either. It's been too long. But it's just not that big a deal. What I'm annoyed by is these stupid reboots when I'm trying to work. That's what annoys me the most. So we'll get out of these privacy settings. I'm going to zoom back out of this.
Yeah.
Yes, Mel.
Do you want to hear
Yes, ma'am, I do. I want to hear about your
about
machine.
my new machine and the saga of the new machine? Nah. I brought my
Now remind everybody, 2 weeks ago,
I brought my laptop up here a couple of weeks ago, as many of you know, and I brought up my monitor and the stand to hold 2 monitors.
Yeah.
And without a lot of trouble, we got the monitor stand together and got the monitor on it. And with a lot of trouble, we did not succeed in putting a new hard drive into the new laptop. Mainly because in the beginning, we did not have a torque number 5 screwdriver, which I had never heard of, but now I know what it is. Did I say that right? A
Details.
Torx.
Yeah. It's a little star head on the thing. And before the meeting was over, though, I
that
did
out.
find that there was a
Pull this out.
store nearby that had them.
Where'd you go?
I went to Ace Hardware, 3/10 of a mile up the road on Gessner.
Ace Hardware had Torx?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, it turns out a lot of places do, but anyway, I got it, came back, and we took a dozen screws off the back of this thing to put in the new hard drive and got it in, then tried to format it so that and put Windows on it so that I could use it, which we were unsuccessful in doing. So I took the laptop home and I took the monitor home and went over to Joe's a couple days later to try and complete this task. However, in the meantime, I had bought an enclosure for the hard drive. It was an SSD 512, ME 512? Is that the right designation? I don't know anymore. Well, the hard drive from the computer, it turns out, was already a 512 gigabyte.
Details.
Oh my, oh my, oh my. And then to top it off, the ME drive would fit in the enclosure I bought, but the one that was in the in the computer would not. And I still don't know why. They were supposed to both fit. However, I finally decided just leave the old one in there and let me take the other one back to the store, which I did. And then I asked, well, why was I getting this other 512?
Was it an NVMe drive?
It was a, what did you say?
NVMe. NVMe.
NVMe. It was the ME, and it was supposed to be faster.
Right.
And I had forgotten that he had told me that. And it turns out that I decided, no, I don't need a faster one with all these problems I've had. So I now have a Torx screwdriver.
Are you a blonde?
No.
Just asking.
I know. I felt sort of crazy about that, but I knew I'd bought it for a reason. I just couldn't remember till I took it back. Anyway, I got the other monitor up with the help of my neighbor, and then found out that I didn't have all the connectors for it. The cords that came with those monitors, there's 24-inch 16 by 10s, Dell monitors, did not come with an HDMI cord.
What was
And-
on it?
An
DisplayPort?
HDMI cord.
Was it DisplayPort?
Oh, yeah, display. Yeah, one was a display port and the other was something else. They had two cables, but
DVI?
I don't remember. No. They were things I'd never seen before. So I already had one HDMI cable, and I was able to plug in one of the monitors that way. And I went to the store again. I feel like I've been on this major trip to Micro Center umpteen times, and ended up getting another HDMI cable. And I finally got my monitors in. But then the old one in my old tower box would not work. I could not get both monitors working. So I finally called Micro Center's help, which, by the way, is extremely helpful. And if anybody wants their phone number, I'll be glad to give it to you. If you bought anything at Micro Center, they will help you. And sometimes they don't even ask if you bought the thing at Micro Center. So I called the Micro Center help.
Yeah.
Huh?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, okay. And they told me, do you have a video card in there?
Wow.
Well, no. What I had was a tuner card.
Oh, Jesus.
And I had plugged it into the TV tuner card. I also
You talking about
had,
your laptop?
No, I'm talking about my tower, my old tower, to get
Oh.
the second monitor working.
Oh.
Because I've got that hooked to my old tower.
Gotcha.
And I plugged it into the right HDMI port, and guess what? It worked.
Good.
And along the way, I had to buy a, what do you call the thing? Docking station.
Right.
Because I couldn't hook the whole thing up with the laptop because I don't have two HDMI ports, et cetera, et cetera. But I did need that Thunderbolt that we talked about earlier to get enough power to drive the two monitors.
Okay.
So I now have my setup. I got the docking station from someplace other than Micro Center since they did not have it in stock, and I got it on sale for half price online. So I am set up. Now I have the joy of trying to get my tower converted to Windows 10. It is still a Windows 7. And that's the next project when I get around to it.
So you're happy with your new laptop?
I am happy with the new laptop.
Everything's doing like you wanted, and you saved some money because you took the other drive back.
Oh, yeah, I did save some money because I took that SSD drive back.
So the screwdrivers that you bought, you didn't need because you didn't use the M.2 drive.
That's right. But
Yeah.
now I've learned a lot about how to take this thing apart.
There you go. Yes, Jack.
I hope I'm not throwing cold water, but was your original drive in the laptop also a Samsung?
Probably not.
Because Dell, I've been reading some chatter online that they're using a couple of different M-type drives. The Samsung's the one they do all their tests with, and the others do not live up to the specs.
She doesn't know, and I don't know either. I don't know if Bill Arc Advisor would probably tell us. Run a report.
Any comments or questions about what I ended up with? Oh, I also am buying a router and modem, so I don't have to keep paying Xfinity for these. And I've been told that if I do that and get them set up, my buffering will stop and I'll be able to get nice smooth music that doesn't stop halfway through a playing of a song while it buffers itself to play some more.
So whose modem did you get?
Who's what?
Whose modem did you get?
This one, Surfboard Aris,
Okay. Which model?
and the router.
Which model?
Oh, model is
6121?
N300.
M300. Not sure about that one.
And then I got the router is an Asus RT-AC 1200.
Oh, Asus. Good. Good router.
End of story until the next faux pas.
Yeah. Thanks, Mel. Mel, if you'll install Bella Arc Advisor and you can take a look in your machine, it'll inventory the guts and you can look and see. It should tell you what brand of drive you've got. Bella Arc Advisor. Did you install it? It's free.
Oh, I haven't run it on this yet. I ran it on the other machines that I had, and I keep copies of it. I just haven't got that done. I haven't got the recovery done either.
One thing at a time. I
But
understand that.
I did find out from Jack here that the recovery, if I do it now, there's going to be another update that I haven't got yet from Windows. And that's the one I probably should run, right?
Jack, can you put the mic on Jack, please, so we can hear him?
She doesn't have Creators Update yet. She's still on 1607.
It'll be coming down. You can force it or you can wait and let it happen.
And that's the one I really should make the recovery disk of, right?
Well, you ought to have a recovery disk right now, but when the new one installs, you'll need to remake it.
Okay, and I can remake it right onto this drive that I'm going to make it on?
Backup, clone, or image, that's something you always need to do. If you're going to put it onto that drive, then you're going to be putting an image or a backup on that drive. If you want to clone it, If,
I didn't hear that, what?
if you want to clone the drive, you need to clone it to a separate disk. As long as you're going to image it or back it up, you can put it on that drive.
I'm not talking about a backup, I'm talking about the recovery disk. The thing that the stuff tells you to make on a USB drive or
Jack's showing it. Put it on the USB stick.
on a stick, yeah. But if I put the current one on there, can I then overwrite it with the
Yes.
the
Yes.
new one?
Make a new one. Overwrite it.
Yep, okay, great.
Good. Okay. Any more questions? Nope. There have been several trade shows over the last couple of weeks. I'm going to go through just a few of them in case you've heard of them. Computex, IBC, that's one in Europe, InfoComm, E3, which has been the big gaming show, Streamcon, which is something I'd never heard of before, but one of the vendors that does a lot of streaming, apparently something they've started. Then there was CineGear, a professional show, and then the NewEgg promotions, and I mentioned those 3 NewEgg promotions. I was going to get into some of the video stuff, but I think I'm going to keep it kind of short. I didn't know if Babb might be coming back to tell us about next week, because I'm still kind of curious whether we're going to be able to do this next week or not. Unless we hear otherwise, we'll plan on being here. And at the end of the meeting, we'll go over it again. Bob? Ben? Not to be here next week. Okay, so next week we won't be here. Thanks for reminding me. That's right. Thanks. Next week we won't be here unless we hear otherwise, but we'll get Lou to send out a broadcast message just to remind everybody that we won't be here next week. We'll go over that again at the end of the meeting because we're going to have time to go check out the new facilities. That's right, I told you guys about the coffee. I could bring up a map and we could take a look at the other facility, but we won't do that here right now. I've got some links up from anybody that's interested in drones, 3DR site scan. They're doing some stuff with commercial drones, mapping. It's amazing what's going on with the drones, and I'm curious about that. I've also got a link up on the Gigabyte new X299 motherboards, and I mentioned to you about the promotion from NewEgg. NewEgg is focused on the X299, but the ASUS motherboards. Anybody interested in building one of the new machines? Yeah, you will. Just give it time. Now, 2 weeks ago, we tried to, on Philip Tan's computer, we tried to clone that, and we found out we were on a USB 2 port. Philip stopped the process, put it on a USB 3 port, but then he stopped the process again until he got home. The whole process took, what, an hour and a half or whatever. Anyway, you got it cloned, and you're back up and running, so it was a good thing we didn't get that finished. That was 3 projects we tried to work on 2 weeks ago, and all of them we had to stop. But you had success once you got home. It was just a matter of time. So I'm glad you got that up and running. Let's see. I've got, if anybody's interested, there's an article on Extreme Tech about e-cigarettes can be used to hack computers. Did y'all see the news last night? There was some little kid on one of the channels. I think it was channel 11. Did you see that, Jack? Little kid that was talking about some of these kids' toys that use Bluetooth, and he showed how you could hack, and he did hack those toys where somebody that had nefarious motivations could hack that toy and spy on a kid and record what they were doing. Well, I tell you, that guy's, he was sharp, really sharp little guy. But he was showing how to either turn it off, turn that feature off, or to shut the device down so when it's not being used, it's not looking at you and recording. I thought that was really interesting on the news. Oh, I got one since we talked about M.2 drives, and I want to tell you this before I forget it. Y'all remember we were looking at 2 weeks ago, Western Digital had the M.2, but it was a Western Digital blue. And I made the comment, I said, I have not seen an M.2 from Western Digital in the black, and I wonder what they were reserving that for. Well, there is now a Western Digital black M.2, and it's an NVMe drive. And I got a link up on Amazon. It's Talking Points number 11. I'm going to bring this up. It's only a 512 gig drive, but still. Oh, this is on NewEgg. Western Digital black, NVMe M.2.
Look at the warranty. I think that's 5 years.
What's 5 years?
That.
Yes.
And the Samsung lower grade is 3.
Yes.
So from that regard, this has an advantage. It's slower though.
Yes. But I'm still glad to know about it. more companies are coming to market. Now, with that said, there's an article up on one of the links, Talking Points on Build or Buy, that goes to Tom's Hardware that talks about the future of these faster drives that may send a lot of us back to spinning drives. It's an interesting article. I think it's worth reading. As they said in the article, you might want to keep whatever fast spinning device you have because it may be harder to get a fast spinning device in the future. That's what I got out of the article.
You're talking about 7,200 could be hard to get?
No, 7,200 RPM is going to be easy to get. SSDs or NVMe drives may be hard to get.
Oh, okay. When you said fast spinning, I thought you were talking mechanical.
Tom. Right here, number 35, Tom's Hardware. Flash industry trends could lead users back to spinning disks. And as the article says, if you already own an SSD produced in the last 5 years, you may want to hold on to it. Next generation products will shoot for the moon on paper, but will fall well short of leaving the atmosphere. For the last decade, we've watched the technology progress, but at the same time, meaningful growth has slowed or stalled due to cost-saving measures in NAND and controller technologies. Early adopters, along with data centers and enterprise customers, played a large role in funding nearly all the last decade's NAND development. The decision to purchase these products was due to how dissimilar they were from hard drives in terms of performance and reliability. Yet over the last 2 years, the trend has been to slow performance to reduce costs. The more technology is neutered, the closer to hard disk performance we see. On the controller side, we've seen the number of processor cores and channels from each controller to the NAND flash shrink. On the paper, the new flash is faster than the old flash, so it's possible to achieve the same performance with fewer channels, but larger die sizes also give us less parallelization. On the flash side, the move to more cost-efficient 3-bit per cell TLC has delivered less sustained performance for heavy workloads that take longer to complete. Those are the same workloads early adopters chose flash for in the first place. So it's an interesting article to read, and what I got out of it, whatever you've got, you may want to hang on to it. Now, someone might say, I don't know any more than I did before I started, so I don't know why I bothered to ask, but I think it's worth reading. And I've got an interesting link up here from Hexus about an ADATA. External SSD is number 41. I want to get back over to the link that Jim Fallon sent me about the routers. And something else that, is David Crook here? David Crook never did come back. Okay. The link that David Crook sent me was to GRC, and I'm going to bring up a PDF file. And this is on GRC, which is Gibson Research, Security Now. This is number 617, and this is a discussion about what's going on with security. And because we use Ubiquiti hotspots up here, but we don't have a Ubiquiti router. And according to this article, which takes time to read, that I don't have time when it takes me an hour and a half to get set up, and that's with Ben and all of us working at it. There's something in there about Ubiquiti routers that if you have a Ubiquiti router, you need to upgrade it. Now, these hotspots also have firmware that needs to be upgraded. As far as security for that firmware upgrade, I don't know if this applies to it, but I need to get them updated. But if anybody's interested in what's going on with the information that David Crook shared with us, this is GRC number 617. GRC number 617 from 6/20/17, which would be yesterday, this week on Security Now. And this talks about the WikiLeaks, which goes back to the article you were talking about, which talks about the CIA and Wi-Fi penetration. But if you read let me go to the article that Jim sent. Jim, you sent that in email. And you said, what do I think of this? We'll get to that laptop in just a minute. But the other one,
Everything's hooked up all right.
yours is number 25 on the talking points. Can we get a mic on you so we can hear you?
Mine was 25. I was trying to find David's.
David, I don't have a link on because David sent me email today,
Oh.
and David's is in a PDF file. The information that David gave me today on the PDF file from email, I will get that up on a link, so we'll have it to refer to. Because all this stuff is like marking time, marking history. But right now, this article that you had on The Verge, I'm going to hold down the control key, I'll click on it, we'll go to that link. The CIA has lots of ways to hack your router. I would strongly encourage everyone to read it, because there's a couple of other links up on it. It's interesting, they were targeting Apple products and Samsung smart TVs. How many of you have a Samsung smart TV? Okay, now here's the $64 question. How many of you have a camera on your smart TV? Why would you hack a smart TV unless it had a camera? Because if it's got a camera, it's probably got a mic. If you don't have a camera, I wouldn't worry about it.
They got mics anyway.
Oh, they do have a mic on it?
Yeah,
Even
I
if,
can talk into my remote.
oh, if you got one of those kind of remotes.
Yeah.
I don't. Mine is like my cell phone. It's stupid. I have a stupid phone.
Yeah, but the funny is that if you could do that, you got to have a mic on your.
But you got to have a mic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've got a stupid remote and a stupid phone. My devices are stupid.
Hey, the only reason I can figure out for it having a camera on a TV, you could take a picture of the burglar that's fixing to steal it.
Good point. Good point. But what I got out of this article was reading down at the bottom the user comments, and one of them put it pretty succinctly.
Let's take the motherboard.
If I could find this real quick.
Set it aside and turn it on the
Backdoor vulnerabilities. And of course, like you said, everything's made in China.
We better hurry.
But it's physical, you got to have physical access. Talked about backbone routers, which would be Cisco routers. Anyway, it's in one of these talking points where someone made a comment. You've got to have physical access to the device, which means someone had to have intercepted that device from whether it's being bought to where it's being delivered on the endpoint. So, if the CIA wants to come up here and pull our router out and monkey with it, maybe that's why our router was messed up.
I recently had to install a camera on my desktop,
stick in there.
and in the process of doing so, I noticed that the router was aware of certain devices, including my television, the smart TV, and I was not aware of that. I set the router up so that it would receive Wi-Fi, and the router,
Oh, wait, leave that,
you know,
leave that one. Can I-
as a result, is constantly aware
I'm gonna
of
try
the
something
presence
else.
of the
I'm gonna try it.
television. So
Do you want to turn that feature off?
Everything's
I don't know,
disconnected
but
here.
I'm saying that could be part of the way that they could hack into the televisions through the Wi-Fi.
I will put this back.
Did we just lose battery?
It may not be necessary for physical
We did.
contact, but Wi-Fi contact might be all that they need.
That's a fan.
Keep talking while I fix the problem.
Don't bother
I don't
with the
have
fan.
anything else to talk about.
That's it.
Yeah. Except I was just looking at the radar, and Cindy is definitely coming closer. Apparently, Mel can talk.
Camera's back up. Here we go. Those batteries just aren't lasting like they should, and I meant to change one of those out. I was going to do a test today, but I got sidetracked.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's-
on this hacking about this, it's an issue. Keep your router firmware updated, and this was 5 years old. That's another good reason maybe to get a new router. But then again, you don't know how. You remember I used to go behind 2 routers because I was paranoid? I'm running behind 1 router. But anyway, it's talked about physical access. You got to have the device. So it's good to know about it. It's good to talk about it. And this PDF that I shared with you, I'll get it in a link up on Build to Buy. But Jim, I want to thank you for sending that.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see email from Joe this morning because Joe normally does not on a Wednesday morning send email. If you don't get it to Joe by Sunday, he ain't gonna see it till he gets up here, and then it's not until he gets back home.
Connected, yeah.
Thought we were moving more things.
So that's pretty much what I've got right now. So unless anybody else got anything else to share, I've got a link up on Digital Trends, AMD's new Vega CPU. There's some talk about the pricing. Not too many people are going to be buying one of those video cards, and that's talking points number 17, AMD's Vega Frontier Edition.
What's that?
Are we any closer to showing y'all's computer?
No, this thing,
Acting strange?
yeah.
Okay. Mel?
When you talked about changing the battery out, what I'm wondering is, how many of you, where do you throw batteries anymore? Like the A's and the C's and the D's and the little 2032s?
Dial 311.
How do you dispose of them?
Auto store?
Auto store?
Yeah,
You just take them all to the auto store?
yeah. They'll take them from you.
Oh, okay.
Well, some O'Reilly's will take them.
You just walk in with
Yeah,
a bag full of batteries and they'll take them?
yeah.
I think that probably is because they're made of lead, and I found out whenever I had like 4 car batteries to get rid of, they I think I come out with like $20 or $30 for them, because lead is an expensive metal for recycling, and lead is in those batteries. Even the little AAA batteries have enough lead in them to make them worthwhile to sell to the metal recyclers.
The batteries
Batteries are made of lead.
The batteries that I'm dealing with that I had to replace is on the Canon camera. That's a Canon XA35. I'm using 3 different brands of batteries. I've been using a Wasabi, which is the worst. I've been using a Watson, which I've had good luck with, but they fall off quick. And I had a Canon battery I was going to start testing today, and I forgot to put it in the camera. And I was going to actually put it probably in the camera number 4, but as it worked out, it was camera number 3 that went out on us. So there's usually, when we're having a conversation, there's usually 2 conversations going on. I'm usually talking to whoever's running the switch, as well as what we're doing.
Okay.
And when the equipment goes funky, I have to go do something with that. So that was a Canon battery that I will not be throwing away. Because even those Wasabi batteries, I use as a placeholder on the camera so that the eyepiece doesn't get bent when I put the camera up. Yes?
Getting back to mine, one of the people who responded to that article, this is called darkreading.com, which I never heard of, but he talks about a program where the NSA routinely intercepts networking equipment built in the United States and adds backdoor access before it's exported overseas.
That's interesting.
Again, this is darkreading.com. I never heard of them, but just to throw that into the conversation.
Do y'all remember back before 9/11, there was a packet sniffing application program that the, what was it called? Then they renamed it. One of those boxes had been installed at How PC, we had been told.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was one of those packet sniffers. Back before 9/11, that was a big deal. After 9/11, it was no longer a big deal. And that it had a name, then they changed it to something else. And I have a link up to Builder Buy way back. I can't remember the name of it, but that packet sniffing software could be on anybody's server, anywhere. Thanks, Greg. And keep an eye out on your email. Lou, you've got Greg's email address, so he'll be in the loop. Okay, good. Everybody be sure your name is on the email address list so we can keep you informed of what we're going to be doing in the coming weeks till we get things set where we need to be. Whew. Lots going on. So something to be mindful of. Now, for what it's worth, I've got also some articles up, one from GameStar. Can you build a $500 PC? It's always, it's like the laptop specs. What are you going to do with it? For example, if you can build a $500 PC, what are you going to do with it? This is talking about using a $500 PC that can beat the Xbox One X.
Put it down there.
Depends on what you're trying to do.
Oops.
Like Dwayne said, I'm looking for something that
No, it's okay.
might be small, but more importantly, is quiet, lightweight,
Oh, fan.
no heat, and no noise. And of course, I've got an Intel NUC down here that I love the amount of space it takes, but
Sit
it's
it down
limited
in
to
the
what it can
corner.
do. It can't do what I can with some of the desktops, but for the most part, it does what I need. But every computer has its place and its purpose. Now, if anybody's going to build a Ryzen, we've got the Ryzen 5 and we've got the Ryzen 7. Lou built with the Ryzen 7. I built with the Ryzen 7.
Yeah,
Some may be more interested in the Ryzen 5. If we go to those links,
just shove it in, that's all you need to do.
and I'm going to look at NewEgg promotions. This is number 28. Now, it's got a little thing that keeps popping up because of the certificate for security. Does it to me twice. But this will give you a link to the Ryzen 5, the Ryzen 7, and it's also got some motherboards. Asus, MSI, Gigabyte, ASRock. And the curiosity of this, they were very selective in their motherboards. For example, the X370, there's just an Asus. With the other chipsets, different brands of motherboards. B350, they've got an MSI and a Gigabyte. And an ASRock, also a B350. So the only X370 they're showing that they're featuring is that Asus Prime X370 Pro
Same
AM4. But if anybody's interested and wants to look at that stuff at a glance, I thought that might come in handy. Same thing with the promotions for the Intel X, same thing with the promotions for the Asus X299 chipset motherboards. Has anybody got any more questions or comments for today? Yes, Robert. Get a mic. Keep me a backup shot. Always keep me a backup
I
shot.
don't want to leave one.
I need something that I can go back to. Yes, sir.
I was about to give up on being able to rebuild a Gigabyte 990 gaming thing.
I'm glad
so
you mentioned
I
that.
spent a couple of hours.
The 990FX.
990FX gaming. It's in short supply currently. So I spent quite a while looking at Ryzen boards and so where was I going with this?
Well, part of that, remember, was we were concerned because SuperBiz, first of all, you couldn't find the board. You were looking at SuperBiz, and SuperBiz went offline. And my first thought was, is SuperBiz going out of business?
Well, I think they are.
Well, we got an email later that says they had a power outage.
Well, that may be, but you go look now, and they no longer have that motherboard that I got a quote on before they went offline, and they also don't have the 8350 processor. So either they lost some computing power, or their inventory, they're having a sellout. So I've concluded that they're not worth considering anymore.
Well, this brings up another consideration because remember, AMD said there's a future and a life for that chipset and for that CPU. So we said, fine, but now you've had trouble finding the motherboard. So my question
Well, that
is,
particular Gigabyte motherboard is hard to get. There may be 6 others that aren't hard to get. But since I have 2 other computers using that one, I would really rather do it a third time
I
than
agree.
start over again.
I agree.
But one thing that I did find, and I couldn't find out what it is, that all the things that I looked at were 370 chipsets instead of 350, and 2 of them were promontory 370s, and 1 was not. And I couldn't find out what promontory means. Do you happen to know?
Promontory.
Yeah.
Was that part of the,
That's the chipset name. It's the, X370 promontory, PROMONOTY or something.
I haven't heard that.
And all they can say is that's what we have. And this other one says, I don't have that, and I couldn't find a definition as to what the difference was.
X370 promontory.
I went and Googled it, and you can find quite a few hits, but some of them are honest enough to tell you they don't have the word promontory in them.
The
I
only
did
thing-
not find promontory in any of the links that I found.
The only thing I see for the X370 is ASRock, and that to me looks like has something to do with the model.
Well, it's listed in the chipset specs. When you go down to specifications, and what's the chipset? Some of them are X370, and some of them are X370 promontory.
Now I see a link here from WCCF Tech that says the chipset stack is known as promontory and consists of 4 SKUs.
Well, when I started looking for this gigabyte board that we've used for a year or two, Amazon, I guess, was saying they expected to have some today, the 21st. And then when the weekend was over, which I guess was yesterday or maybe the day before, they said, oh, it'll be the 23rd. And as of at least this morning, if not yesterday, they've taken that whole notice off and saying it'll ship in 1 or 2 days. And they have gone ahead and charged my credit card, but they haven't yet sent me an email saying that it has shipped. But at least I think they got notification from their vendor that their new supply has shipped. So it looks like Amazon will be able to deliver some on NewEgg. NewEgg doesn't have it anymore, but they have 3 other vendors. And I just soon not buy from 3 other vendors at NewEgg. And then, as I say, SuperBiz gave me a quote. It was the best quote by $1 or $2. Let's just say Saturday, but when they went offline and came back Monday, they no longer have that device. When you search for it, it just doesn't come up. So I've written them off. And I went ahead with Amazon. It's only a $10 difference. I found I can update that machine with the motherboard, processor, and RAM for less than $400, about $360. So that's pretty cheap. Using the same case and the same power supply and the same graphics card.
What we're going to have to do is take
And I've
the
got
CPU off and reset
same disk set.
because that's the only.
Well, I've never seen that term promontory, and I'm looking for it, and I don't find a whole lot of information about it.
So either we got to
As far as I
Trying to
can
think
tell,
how I got
we're
there.
not
I
doing it
probably
right
got there from a
something.
NewEgg search. But I don't remember what I was looking for. So I'm waiting off the top of their page, you can type some words in, and I don't remember how I got there.
so you found that term from NewEgg?
Yeah. So they have a number of, what would it be? Ryzen, I guess, motherboards. There were at least 3 vendors. I compared 4, so I had a big chart. I didn't send you that email. I
Nope.
guess I should have, then it would be there. But I went through the specs and cut out the 8 or 10 things that I was interested in and pasted it all together in one JPEG. So I got 4 machines compared. And then I found that it looked like I could get the gaming board from Gigabyte, so I dropped that. But I didn't throw it away because I haven't got that board in hand yet.
I'm looking up the information that you gave me, and I don't see anything for it.
Well, you might just try in the motherboard section Ryzen and X370 and see how many motherboards it'll give you.
Wait, you got it started.
I got a lot of stuff that has nothing to do with promontory. Promontory
Well, it
point.
doesn't show up there. It's in the specifications.
Well, I'll take a look at it later since I didn't have time to.
Well, I can send it to you when I get home. But,
yeah.
then there'll
It's
be-
not something I can talk about
Yeah.
because I don't know anything about
Well,
it.
I was,
today.
if you knew the answer, that's great. If you don't, well, then we'll just go on to something else.
Yeah, I don't. That's a new one to me. Anybody else ever heard it? You heard it, Mel?
I haven't heard it. I have another question.
Sure, go ahead. You're going to always leave me a backup.
I'm always a little late on some of these things, but what do I need to be able to use Netflix on my computer?
Glad you asked that question.
Because I really have no idea. I don't know if I need a tuner card or what.
Okay, you're going to be watching Netflix on which computer?
On what?
Which computer are you going to watch Netflix on? Your
I was
desktop or your
thinking of
laptop?
This new laptop.
Okay, are you going to watch just regular 1080 or are you going to watch 4K?
Well, this is a 4K, so
Okay, you want to be able to watch 4K material on it?
what?
You want to be able to watch 4K material? A 4K movie?
Yes.
Okay, according to Netflix, to do 4K, you got to have an NVIDIA chipset, 1050i,
Yeah. We gotta take this thing off.
which is 4
Look
gigabytes
at it.
of RAM.
Will that be?
That's according to Netflix. That's the spec they put out.
I don't either, I'm gonna look.
Otherwise, for the rest of us, if you're going to watch 4K on a laptop or on any computer, you're going to have to do it from Cortana.
I'm gonna have to deal with Cortana?
Then always leave me with a backup shot.
Always what?
Okay. There's two conversations going on. There's the conversation you and I are having, and then there's a conversation I'm having with a person with a switch. And I need a backup shot, so I can do that. There we go. Now, what I'm going to go to do, Netflix,
Not in here.
we have this link up on Builder Babb, but I'm just going to go look for it. Netflix streaming requirements. Okay, how's that? If you're just going to stream, that's what you're looking for. Below are the internet download speed recommendations per stream for playing TV shows and movies through Netflix. 0.5 megabit for broadband, 1.5 megabit recommended broadband, 3 megabit recommended for standard definition. And that does not list 4K. And this takes us to the Netflix site. And this tells us if you're going to do HD, which is be 720 or 1080, that's a 5 megabit connection. And if you're going to go Ultra HD, which would be 4K, you need a 25 megabit connection. Yes. Default on Comcast, I think, is 50 megabit, so you're fine. Because
That's up to 50.
True, it's up to 50. So you should be able to stream 4K for your network connection, but your other requirement is your video card, which is a spec we've been working from since we heard that announcement, and we have a link up on Builder by Talking Points for it. And this talks about the bandwidth usage. Remember, like what we're doing here, for us to be able to stream, we are streaming a 1080 stream, but to do that, to stream 1080, we have to be able to have so much download, but our upload speed is what's required for us. We have a 20 megabit connection, and we're using 8 megabit. Yeah, 8 megabit at 1080p 30. If we were to go to like 1080p 60, then it would require more bandwidth. If we had just a 10 megabit connection, we couldn't stream at 8 megabit because you got to have room for that to throttle.
She's 75 and up at home, so that's not going to be a problem.
No.
But the hardware and wideband requirements aside, how does she specifically do it?
I've never streamed on Netflix. I've streamed on Amazon Prime, and I've streamed on, what do you call it, the media box? Yeah, I've done the Roku. I'm going to email that to myself again because this is going to be coming up quite a bit. I'm on 2 screens. Three secrets you need to know. What are the requirements? That's on Nintendo. Netflix system requirements. Let's see what this gets us. x86, 64-bit. Your computer will pass for your memory and your processor. Now this is going to be using HTML5 and Silverlight. Wow, I thought Silverlight was being retired. Silverlight is a plug-in from Microsoft. Okay, Netflix says my system is not compatible. An HTML5 player. Any new player should be able to run it. System compatibility error. Okay, how does Netflix work? Free trial, join for a month, membership, TV shows, streaming devices. Choose the membership plan and create an account. Have you ever streamed on Netflix before? Okay. Choose an account by entering email address, create a password, enter the payment method because you don't want to miss a single episode before your free trial ends, and then stream and join for a month. What you're going to be doing is streaming, and it's going to be seen through your browser. Does that help? Okay.
Did you start a Netflix.com or org or something for that?
This is help.netflix.com.
Okay, thank you.
And what I did was I went to Netflix system requirements, and I went down to right here, how does Netflix work? help.netflix.com/en for English, node/412. Just how does Netflix work? Minimum hardware requirements, that's AVS Forum. Someone found streaming Netflix HD cannot play on my dual-core 1.6 gigahertz computer. Minimum requirements, that was back in 2010. CPU speed for Netflix, it still works. But I just went to this link. How does Netflix work? And that'll walk you through it. And there's a video that looks like that's a YouTube video. You can click on that. And then in the bottom right-hand side, there'll be an icon that'll pop up that says YouTube. You can click on that, and that'll take you over to YouTube to see the video if you don't want to see it in the window. So you're going to be streaming through the browser.
Does anybody here stream Netflix? Does anybody use Netflix on their TV?
Nope.
Dwayne does, but Dwayne's already left. Now, he'd have been a great person to ask. He's streamed it in lots of places. He likes to do it whenever they're traveling. And Netflix has also got a new, which I think is, I'm not sure it's from Google, a new codec that allows them to compress that stuff even more. And because of pixelization, they're able to send only what you need, not everything, because it's about motion. It's like me up here. If you're looking at a person and you're seeing motion, it takes a lot more bandwidth to send this motion through the stream than it does to send that screen, which is not doing anything. That doesn't take any bandwidth. So, something to think about.
And you said you use what? Or you have streamed with what?
I use Amazon Prime,
Amazon. Okay.
and I use the media player Roku.
Roku, okay.
Yeah, I like a media player, but I like Amazon Prime. Sometimes I watch Amazon Prime on the TV. Sometimes I watch Amazon Prime on the computer. It depends. Depends on what I'm watching. And I like Amazon Prime because I'm a Prime fan.
Where's the memory?
I don't like putting money in Jeff Bezos' pocket, and I'm going to probably put more money in his pocket. They ought to have a little gold plaque for me because now that they bought Whole Foods, that just opens up a whole new world. I haven't been to Whole Foods in 20 years. I go to Sprouts. But if I can get to Whole Foods through Amazon Prime, I'm interested. So we'll see how that works out.
I didn't put this on.
But I haven't watched any streaming. I haven't had time. I've been recording video, editing video. I haven't had time to watch somebody else's movies. And if you need help getting set up, you can search the Help Center for the manufacturer of the device you're using. It ought to be pretty simple and straightforward. But you're going to be watching it through your browser. So when you get ready to set up and log into it, it'll tell you if you're up to snuff or not. Now, according to what I had read before with Windows 4, to do the streaming in 4K, you're going to have Cortana. But according to Netflix, to be able to stream and not be in Cortana, you've got to have an NVIDIA chipset, a 1050i or above. That's the minimum requirement.
This one has a 960.
Then that's below that.
Yep.
So if you want to stream 4K, then you're going to need to be in Cortana. Because it's
What do you mean by be in Cortana?
you're going to have to use Cortana as your web browser. I use Google.
Cortana is a web browser?
Well, what's it called? Yeah, Edge.
Oh, Edge.
Cortana.
Yuck.
Well,
Hey, it's only going to get worse, guys.
that's right.
If she'll settle for regular high def, I suspect Chrome and Google will team up nicely.
You should. I like Google Chrome, and I just started using it a few weeks ago because I was getting sick and tired of the performance on the other browser. What's it called? Yeah, Firefox.
Yeah, I figured now that I have 2 monitors, I might try some streaming on one of them just
Sure.
to see how it goes.
Sure,
And
see
it's
how it looks.
24-inch, my goodness, it's big enough.
It ought to look good. It ought to look good.
I cannot see the value of that green thing.
Okay, so does anybody have any more questions?
Insulation so things don't short out.
I think we're pretty well done then. Now remember, no meeting next week. We'll send out an email, a broadcast message for those of you that are here at the meeting. For those of you that are online, if you're on the mail list,
What kind of a case you're putting it in.
you'll get the email. If you're not, we'll try and get a video up to tell you next week about what's going on, because we're going to go take a look at the new facility. Does anybody want to go with me, with Mom and I, to go look at the new facility?
What
Ben?
is it? What is the name of it?
Chapel Hill. Let me go over here to the
It is
browser.
Chapel
Funeral
Hill.
parlor.
Do what?
It is Chapel Hill?
Yes,
Chapel Wood.
Chapel Hill.
Chapel Hill. Well, the church is Chapel Wood. That's why I'm asking.
I'm
you
sorry,
if
is it
you're-
Chapel Hill or Chapel Wood?
Oh, okay.
Chapel Hill.
Wood. Chapel Hill?
Well, now you got me confused. Yes,
I think
yes,
it's
one
Chapel
in Houston.
Wood.
Chapel
Yeah,
Wood.
Chapel Wood. Yeah. All right.
Okay, Chapel Wood, UMC. And if you go to Chapel Wood Resources, Facilities, and there is a map. Now, this map's a little hard to read, so I'm going to zoom in on it.
Okay.
If it'll let me. No. I have to,
Where are we?
okay. There's 3 levels of the place. There's a basement, the first floor, and a second floor. We would be on the first floor, and if we look at the front of the place, where you come in, Green Bay is the main road where you come in at.
Green Bay,
Yes,
Wisconsin.
Green Bay. Piney Point one direction, and Memorial Drive the other. On the on one side, I guess that'd be the east side, is a parking lot, and there's a gym over here. On the back side, which I guess would be the north side,
Have me the memory.
right here's the coffee shop. Here's a hallway that comes down. There's a fellowship hall right here. And I have an idea that may be where we would be. I have no control over that scroll. So there's a pretty good view of it. We'd have to come down this aisle, parking lot in the back. We'd have to walk. Here's the coffee shop. Walk down through this hall. We have bathrooms on one side, fellowship hall on the other. We would either be there or in this other fellowship hall. That's all I know as far as I've looked at the map. They may suggest us being a different place. Again, my concern is how easy it is for us to get in there, how difficult is it to find the place, and will we be able to put our projector and screen over there?
And do you have to take your screen out this week or what?
Well, that's something else I'm going to have to find out, because if I've got to get the screen, that's going to be a separate trip.
USBs are
For me to haul that screen, I have to go down the road with the tailgate up, and that's with it stuffed in the front of the car. I've only moved it once.
Okay, power.
So Ben wants to go with me? Who
Yes, I'll
else?
go with you. We also need to see how much furniture they have.
Yes.
That's okay.
Somebody pushed.
Nope, no
Oh,
problem.
we've got
there it
a.
is.
I'm trying to fix something.
Okay.
Well,
That's
don't
okay.
know how
Give
that
it to
got
me.
up.
Give it to me. Give me the cables. We can hook this up dry.
Okay, I got that fixed. Here we are. Okay, we're back.
Here's a
Something
power
got pushed
cable.
that got that messed up. Okay, what'd you say, Ben?
Hook that, oh crap, hook that in over there.
What'd you guys decide? Are y'all looking at the map? Yeah, what'd y'all decide? What'd y'all decide? Ben,
Pardon?
what did y'all decide?
Decide about what?
Oh, I thought y'all were looking at the map.
I was looking on at Clark's map to get the location of the church.
Okay.
I've been over there, and it is really quite a fine complex with all sorts of facilities. I just don't know which one he's going to put you in.
True. I don't have any
But
idea.
it is not easy to get to the first time. Once you know it, it's not too bad.
It's like anything.
Well, no, this one's easy.
SATA.
Okay, so Ben, you'll go with me. I'll email you, let you know. Anybody else want to go check the facility out? Lou, you're going to go? Okay. We'll see how it goes. Ray Morris may show up. He came with us. We came over here to Fairhaven, get this all set up, so we'll see. Because we're going to be looking at, do we have a room where we can have our meeting? We're going to have internet, a place to set our projector and screen, and also room for everybody to sit and power to plug in our laptops. So that's kind of what we're facing. So I want to thank everybody for being with us today online. Bear with us while we work through these issues. It's an opportunity, and I appreciate the folks at Chapelwood. They are the ones who have merged with Fairhaven. When we come back over to this facility, this will be totally remodeled inside, and it's something that should look really, really, this is an outstanding facility, but it should look even better. Yes, Ed? Yes. There's a mic.
If you decide to move
Yes, sir.
and need some help, if you just email me and let me know and tell me what time to be here, I got a Suburban. I can take a Suburban load of stuff over.
I appreciate it. Well, the biggest thing is going to be moving that screen because of the length.
Okay. It's up
If you got a long Suburban,
Just the Suburban.
standard Suburban.
Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate it. I'll let you know. They said there's a lot of people over there that can help us to load and unload, so they may have some people that can help us move the screen.
USB.
Maybe easier than us trying to do it, so I appreciate it. We'll let you know. So no meeting next week. Next week is going to be
You feel the motor running?
the last weekend, so our next possible meeting will be that first Wednesday in July, which would be the 5th. Now, here's the next question, because July the 4th,
Yeah, I think so.
do we want to even try to have a meeting on July the 5th? Yes and no? I'm kind of on the fence about it, and so let's kind of wait and see what happens with what's going to happen at the facility, because there's a lot involved in us going to a different facility. So there's a possibility we might not meet for 2 weeks. That possibility exists. So no meeting next week, but we'll email you and let you know. So I want to thank everybody online for participating. Joe and John are still working on the computer. I hope we was going to show it to you today. We'll tell you about it later, and we'll also tell you about some of the issues. That's the way it is when you do things live. Folks, thanks for coming. I appreciate your support. We look forward to seeing you in 2 or 3 weeks. Keep watching for us online and watch for the email.
I did that.
We'll be back soon. Y'all have a great day,
I'm not.
and thanks for
I'm
your
not
support of
getting the
Builder Buy.
Control-Alt-Delete. Can't do that. Yeah, go ahead and cut the power and try it again. Cut the power and try it again.
Thank you, Ben. I appreciate it. By the hair of our chinny chin chin. That's all, folks.
Yeah, go ahead. turn it back on.
And we are signing off.